A very warm welcome to you and welcome to K24 this morning. This is the last show of 2020 and what a year it's been. We look at the state of the nation and looking at things in review and looking at where things stand so far, even as we talk about that right here on the show. But even as we start this particular show, we do have some breaking news in terms of the passing on of Nyamira Governor John Nyangarama at the age of 74. As of this morning at around 4 a.m., we will be heading to Lee Funeral Home later on this morning for a presser from the ODM leader. So as of this particular point in time, Nyamira Governor passing on at 4 a.m. in the morning. John Nyangarama, he was age 74. We'll be getting a comprehensive statement from ODM leaders at later on this particular morning. They'll be at the Lee Funeral Home. That will be coming up probably right here on the show. And once that starts, you'll be getting live pictures from there. So it's a story we're keenly following up on right here at this particular point in time. But even as we do that, let's start off as usual and look at our dailies this morning. My name is Jeff Motte. Welcome to the last show of 2020. We'll be looking at some of the key events that have happened this particular year and take stock of what's been happening and what a year it's been. As of yesterday at around 11:25 p.m., Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko impeached by the Senate. Where do we go from here as a county, as a country? It's a discussion we'll be having on the show as well. It's a story that's also on the front page of your People Daily. If you haven't gotten yourself your PD, you don't need to leave the house or wherever you're watching this from. You can get it straight to your phone, and the number that you dial is *550*4#. It's only 10 shillings and it's brought to you by the People Daily and Safaricom. So once again, that number is *550*4#. As you download your e-paper, this is the headline you're getting. Do or die as Sonko fights for survival. Let's scroll up on that. Embattled Nairobi Governor put to task to explain circumstances under which he diverted 297 million shillings meant for bursaries to pay lawyers and his daughter's trip to the US. But he dismisses claims as a witch hunt from MCAs whose deals at City Hall he had stopped. This, of course, can be found on page 4 and went on for the better part of yesterday, right into the night on that. Also, in your copy of your People Daily, as you can look at this story, Kenyan charged with plotting a 9/11 style attack in the US. This is on page 6, the details of that particular story right there. Let's scroll on to the top of the PD. Joe Nyaga gives intricate burial orders. His body should not be displayed for viewing and should be buried next to his grandfather with the head facing Berry Hills. This particular funeral will be taking place tomorrow as well, but very elaborate in terms of what he envisioned as far as his last rites are concerned. And that's a story you can get on page 13 of your People Daily. The details of that are there. Let's look at the front page of the Standard. Day Drama King was stopped. Populist Nairobi governor was a pale shadow of himself as he faced his accusers and faced intense questioning during the second day of a Senate marathon hearing on his removal from office. As Aweri Sonko took to his defense, juicy and dirty revelations emerged from both parties. And as you can see here, they're giving it a breakdown on how it unfolded as far as that's concerned. From his disposition as he put up his defense, they term it as fidgety. He accused some of the MCAs right there, talking about the fact that the only reason this was happening is because he stopped them from, dipping their hands into the county cookie jar right there, and lots of deflections, they say. This story can be found on page 2, 3, 4, and 5 of your Standard. You can get the details of that therein as well. Front page of the Daily Nation, impeached. This really is a big story this time round. Incompetent king of theatrics Mike Sonko finally runs out of drama, stripped of his authority by the national government, given the boot by MCAs, and shown the door by the Senate. That's a story on page 4 of your Daily Nation. The details of that are in there. Handshake, split in Jubilee play out as senators send Nairobi governor home. You can find all the details of that if you weren't watching those live proceedings that were carried yesterday. Finally, front page of the Star, taking a different turn, of course, after them. So I'm going to by-election. Where to next, and where do political leaders test their political might, even as they head closer to the general election and the referendum round the corner? New Ruto-Raila clash in Western mini-polls. ODM has announced it will field a candidate in Matungu and Kabushai as well. This can be found on page 4 and 5. Are these candidates going to be handshake candidates? Will Jubilee field candidates as well, even as they move forward? And will there be any affiliations, even if they won't have specifically Jubilee candidates in this particular race? That story can be found on page 4 and 5 of your star. The details are therein. And also, if you've had to drive or commute from Kitengela, Athi River, anywhere that you have to pass the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and come to the city, you've definitely seen this construction taking place. Expressway to Jomo Kenyatta Airport starts to take shape. As you can see right there, some of the construction going on that particular area as of now. And the deadline being given as of next year, December, this particular expressway should be done as far as that's concerned. You can get the details of that particular story in your copy of your star therein. So as you look at that, those are the big stories that we're looking at today. But right now, it's all about State of the Nation. Our last show as we wrap up 2020. Where are we standing right now? Of course, with the great cloud of COVID-19 still looming over us. But politically, where we are in terms of governance as well, where does that stand as far as that's concerned? And also, when you talk about the fact that the economy really has taken a beating because of this particular COVID-19, how do we deal with that? But let's take a recap of what happened yesterday as far as day 2 of the impeachment motion against Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko took place. And it was still ongoing at the Senate when we did this story, with the embattled governor dismissing allegations leveled against him by MCAs as political and driven by malice and character assassination. While testifying in the impeachment case at the Senate, Sonko, among others, denied diverting 297 million shillings meant for bursaries for needy students in the county. Here are the happenings that took place during that impeachment hearing.
Honorable Senators and Council.
Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko's impeachment hearing continued for the second day today.
Honorable Senators and Council, using my discretion, I will allow the 4 witnesses and the Governor to appear.
The hearing that began Wednesday with the Assembly's entourage led by Minority Leader Michael Ogada.
Time is up.
Sonko is facing charges, among them gross violation of the Constitution, among other laws, abuse of office, private use of public funds, commission of crimes under the national laws, and lacking the mental capability to run the county government.
Mr. Speaker,
the governor has termed his impeachment as a smear campaign against him by cartels in the county, who he say have ganged against him.
I personally decided to do an impromptu visit or inspection at the cash office. I went there with some of the officers, CID officers attached to the county. We also reported the matter to EACC. There are officers who also came. And Mr. Speaker, when we were conducting this search, we found it was true, because we found the county cashiers, some with money in their socks, suits. Mr. Speaker, we recovered around 30 million in cash, Mr. Speaker.
In his defense from the charges of abuse of office laid ahead to him, Governor Sonko dismissed the claims, saying his wife's travels were genuine since she was part of the governor's delegation.
They went to High Court to challenge this decision by petition number 79 of 2017, Labor Relations Court, before Justice Helen Wasila. Their case was dismissed. The judge said the governor has a right of suspending, terminating services of any staff, provided there's a disciplinary action that was being taken.
The defense witness, Emmanuel Kenga, pointed out at a possible forgery of Sonko's impeachment signatures.
Examine the writings on some serial numbers on the names.
And then what was your conclusion?
My conclusion is that serial number 3, 4, 9, 20, 69, and 85, this writing was made by the same author.
In support of Kenga, Sylvia Musia, nominated MCA, claimed that her account was illegally logged into and therefore she did not willingly participate in the impeachment, and so are the 57 MCAs that were said to have been participants of Sonko's impeachment.
I can confirm I personally did not vote. I can confirm the people around me did not vote, and we have a number of them within this building or within the precincts of Senate. And we did not vote. We did not vote. We did not even have the funds to vote.
Mombi Wambogo, K24.
So that was at the beginning of that particular process, and that process went deep into the night as far as that's concerned. Like I told you as we started the show, his impeachment or a ruling taking place at around 11:25 p.m. as of yesterday. And lots of drama went on, of course, even as the senators gave their views on the floor of the Senate. Let's get into that particular discussion, even as we start from there. But let me get to my panel. In studio, you usually see him on Thursday, but since this was the last show of the year, decided to push him on to Friday. Governance expert Gabriel Muthuma. Good morning.
Thank you for having me. Actually, it's an honor, to finish the show again with you. I think it's been a credible year, Jeff.
Right.
We've seen the craziness of what a pandemic can bring. We are still in it.
Sure.
I was just telling people, who knows, we could be actually in the eye of the storm, and things may actually get better or get worse.
True.
So I think it's good that we've witnessed this.
Right.
At the very least, me and you, when you grow older, God willing, we will be telling our children and our grandchildren
about the year 2020.
We will talk about this year. But all the same, thanks for having me, my
Absolutely.
friend.
Asante Sana Gabriel. Also joined by Vivian Tar, political analyst. Morning, Vivian.
Good morning, Jeff.
Welcome
I
to the show.
am very happy to be here and happy to be finishing the year with you and with Kenyans.
Right.
And I just want to send my condolences to the people of Nyamira on the loss of Governor Nyagarama. It's a huge loss for us as ODM and also for the people of Nyamira.
Right. Absolutely. And of course, we'll be getting a presser from Lee Funeral Home later on this morning. We'll be giving you live coverage of that as well. But also joining this particular conversation via Skype, Senator Sylvia Kasanga. Talk about late nights and early mornings. That's what has happened as of yesterday coming into today. Morning. I think you've muted your audio. Probably if you check. Okay, fine. We'll be checking what's happened. We'll check what's happened in that particular connection very quickly. Before I get to Kasanga, because she was there on the floor of the House, probably a front row seat with all this particular action. At this point, Gabi, I'll ask you, because where does the buck stop in terms of blame?
Well,
this man was made by Jubilee, and he has been consistent in character ever since he got into Parliament. So they knew what they were doing. They made their bed, and now they're trying to act like we didn't know. We thought he'd be a different character as governor.
I've always said, and I'll continue preaching this, it's very hard for you to legislate morality. It does not matter how you come into, whether it's Parliament or whether it's the Senate or any gubernatorial seat, or even if you want to go as far down as the MCA. The minute somebody gets elected, how they behave thereafter, really, the party has no control, and this you have to give to them. By the way, even the electorate who voted for you, they don't have control over you. So that is why you see a lot of politicians putting up a face. But in real sense, probably they have other ulterior motives. Having said that, I think yesterday I started just reminiscing how far Sonko has come. And, starting from, I think we are through Madhakarua's party back then, Not Kenya. And, he came and beat two
very prominent
politicians. Yeah. I think it was Ruben Dolo and the late Dick Wathika, right?
Yes.
And so, he moved very quickly from being a member of parliament. He became a senator. And guess what? He became our governor. And not only just our governor of Nairobi, he was voted overwhelmingly. He received a lot of support, yet to dethrone another heavy hitter, one Evans Kidero. So the issue of Sonko, I think, it is quite unfortunate that he did not seize the moment. And I think if he sits down in the calm and the silence of the night, I think Sonko will regret. And his regret primarily will be he never captured the moment. He never seized the moment, actually, to show people that, you know what, I could have done it. So where does the buck stop? I think already, probably Senator will tell us, I can guarantee you his legal team will go very quickly to get some sort of reprieve. They'll file, obviously, to be given an allowance to be had yet again. Thereafter, I think if that doesn't augur well in the courts, because that's where now they'll have to go, I think in the next few weeks we will be heading into a by-election. Yeah. So that's what we expect to happen. But more than that, I think, given the fact that Jeff, I don't even know how to start this. We have the pandemic, which is seriously growing in Nairobi. You're also looking at conducting another by-election in Nairobi. I don't know how that's going to be. Right. And you're also looking at an IEBC, which is so cash-strapped with BBI and the signatures and what have you. So it is a very intricate process to see. And all this may be happening in a few days, in about 60 days. So it's something that we are going to be talking about for the next few weeks to come. Okay. So let's see how that ball rolls. Okay.
Vivian, I mean, an impeachment process is definitely political. But from what we saw yesterday, there really weren't any surprises. I think save for those who abstained from voting. But other than that, I mean, anyone before they spoke on a microphone, you could tell what they were how they're going to vote.
But honestly, in my opinion, even the people who abstained were, we can take the abstain vote as a no vote, because essentially you're not adding to the yes votes. And it's a camouflaged no, if you asked me. You're just, playing safe, sitting on the fence, if you like. And which is a little bit disappointing, but I'm sure they had their reasons. But talking about the transition, I think the next steps we expect to have the Nairobi Speaker, Honorable Ben Mutura, maybe assume office as the governor in accordance to Article 182 of the Constitution, and possibly, within the next 2 months, have a by-election for the office of governor of Nairobi. It will be interesting to see who the players will be who come up for the election of governor, or express interest in the election of governor, and how the two handshake partners will be able to agree on how do we finish this last year of the highest seat in the county of Nairobi. But then, like Gabi said, I think Sonko messed himself up. He had several opportunities to make it right. Even just in a bid to finish his term, they had an altercation already with General Badi, but they had made peace in public, and I was hoping to see him, just be able to stick with it and see it through. Because it's sometimes once there's a certain threshold, once you pass, it's very difficult to get out of that hole. And but I agree, the entire process is political. Right. It's political, but then it's expected, because governor is a political office. As much as you're the key administrator for a county, it's also a political office. Okay.
Let me get Senator Kasanga in on this. If you can hear me now. Morning, Senator.
Good morning, Jeff. I hope you can hear me now.
Loud and clear. Glad to have you on the show, Senator Kasanga. Now, from where we stand, because some people are saying the straw that really broke the camel's back is when Governor Sonko wasn't releasing funds to the NMS. And therein, as the Senate, lies a very interesting situation we have in Nairobi, because as the protectors of devolution, which is the Senate, we have a county assembly that should oversight county expenditure. But we have a Major General who sits at the National Cabinet. So as a Senate, how do you expect County Assembly to oversight what the Major General does in Nairobi?
Jeff, let me first start by thanking you for having me on the show today. You've given me this platform severally, and I've been able to address Kenyans on various issues, and for that I am truly grateful. It's been a very eventful year, and the events seem not to be stopping even as the year is ending. And, I have to give my condolences. We lost a senator, a good friend of ours, Senator Kabaka. Now we have lost a governor of Nyamira. May their souls rest in peace. And definitely a lot of Kenyans have suffered and died during this time of COVID period. And for that, we have to give our condolences and our empathy at all times as we move forward. Yesterday's events Jeff, were yesterday and the day before were very eventful. I personally attended Senate virtually from where I am right now, and we have to be grateful for technology, the thing that we have all risen up to. You know, the silver lining in COVID today has been technology. So chamber sittings have been made hybrid so that we don't crowd in the chamber and observe COVID protocols. So I attended virtually. I listened to every submission. The Senate Secretariat and the clerk's office had made sure we receive all our documents wherever we are. So I have a bunch of files here at my desk. We followed very closely at the evidence of both sides. And yes, the issue of NMS did come in, and the transfer of functions did come in. And you've heard severally the governor himself saying how hard it is for him to cooperate with the county assembly when it comes to delivery of service. And he called out for help because also of cartels in Nairobi. And he called out for help from the president and said, come and help me. And this is how the NMS were finally brought in. And, you know, to the surprise of a lot of Kenyans, suddenly we saw a lot of services being rolled out in a very short time. I can tell you where I am right now. The traffic jams have been so bad that when we heard that NMS is going to roll out a tramp line from here, Syokimau, and beef up, you know, the train ride from Syokimau and Athi River into Nairobi, were absolutely excited because now I can access Nairobi in hopefully less than the 2 hours that I used to come into Nairobi. You can see the challenges that we have. So he called out for the help. That is in the public domain. It was also repeated yesterday when he was giving his submissions. But I'll tell you, Jeff, for me, when you listen to this impeachment proceedings going on, the thing that comes into my mind and the thing that I wish all media houses and the media can highlight on is how did we get here as a society? The impeachment of a governor is such a major event in a country like ours. He's such a senior official in this country that you have to ask yourself, how did we find ourselves in this position where the citizens who have elected somebody are very happy to have him go? Why? They elected him. They knew him. He has worked in the capacity that he has as a person, you see. And then the issues that he raised during his defense, we cannot sweep them under the floor as well. He raised issues where you have MTS who are colluding with private sector so that they can win tenders, they can all eat. And when these private contractors are terminated, they go to the governor together with the MTA. In fact, the MTA takes them to the governor. So they can explain to him how they used to eat in the previous regime and how this governor does not know how to eat. A private contractor and an MTA. We are such a rotten society. And it is time we start having this very honest conversation, Jeff. And for me, that is the culmination of this impeachment proceeding that happened yesterday. All the things that were said from both sides are really telling of who we are as a society, Jeff. And for me, that is how I can summarize those proceedings yesterday. And I can tell the people of Kenya today who are listening, you have to rise up. You know, something has to give at some point, and now it's beginning to give. It's beginning to give because of the choices that we make. And choices do have consequences. Nairobians have seen their consequences of the choices they made on MTAs, on governor, and it's about time we rise up. And even the private sector, they cannot be left out in this conversation. They're equally to blame for the corruption that happens in our society. The ones who go and collude with state officers, that they can get these tenders and they can get these things. And this is something I feel very passionate about because, Jeff, the rate at which we are going as a nation, we will have nothing to live for our future. And already we're in the future. We have very young leadership in place today. Some of the corruption issues you're hearing about are because of very young leaders and young contractors who are coming in and they want to continue with this bad culture. Jeff, this is a conversation that I'm hoping Kenyans can have following the proceedings that we had in the last 2 days, the colorful presentations that we had in the last 2 days. We must have this conversation, Jeff. But otherwise, thank you so much for having me on this platform, Jeff. And just one more thing I need to clarify.
Yeah, very quickly.
The ad hoc committee on COVID wound up its mandate in November. So now it's a defunct committee. So I am a previous chair, but thank you so much.
Okay, Asante Sana, that is also noted as well. We have a minute before we get to our first break. And we are seeing a president who's taking more and more stock and putting more and more faith in the military He said that severally in terms of how they deliver, what they do, and more responsibilities are being given to the military where they can. How do we get out of this scenario where we have the military everywhere? Is that the only way we solve this, Gabi?
Well, I don't think so.
Throw a soldier at any problem that we have?
I don't think so, but, you know, as a voter, me and you and, you know, citizen XYZ must look at two things. One is the resources that are being put into a specific task. For instance, let's just take Nairobi and what NMS have done. And I'm not holding any brief for NMS, but I'm just giving you a scenario. We were told the Governor Sonko's led administration were actually looking to sell most of these trucks, right, almost at a giveaway price. And we know, I mean, there was a lot of corruption dealing going on in there. And, you know, these trucks needed to be fixed or using the minimum amount possible, because you're looking at probably a clutch plate that's missing, you're looking probably a brake disc that's missing. There were minute things that needed to be fixed, but the amount of money that they were going to use was humongous, seriously humongous. But guess what? This guy comes in, fixes all these trucks, all of them they are on the road, and the cost that he uses actually mesmerizes everyone. So you're looking at people who come from a command of discipline versus somebody or politicians who have just mastered, like what Senator is telling us, who have just mastered the art of theft. So that, I think, if you are to strike a balance, the issue of how they come in, you know, Constitution notwithstanding, is the delivery. And probably that's what Kenyans are concerned about. Now, I am not suggesting in any way, shape, or form that these military people should be used to scuttle a constitutional process, or should be used to actually divorce serious matters that are engraved in our constitution, to have a leeway that, you know what, should anything break, we need to militarize that department. That's what I'm talking about. But on the delivery aspect, and not only this, there was a time the president was in Mombasa, you remember, and he was with the then Chief of Defense, the former General Modate. And he actually said it. He said, I have to walk in the streets of Mombasa by night, all right? Because there are certain developments that I have initiated. And I need the only people who can tell me the truth and the people who can do this without having all these crazy corruption dealings were the military. So here you're looking more of the virtues that they hold, which is discipline and delivery, versus somebody who is elected by me and you, who first of all will not deliver, and given that cash, it will. I mean, we are talking about things that we are witnessing in Nairobi.
Let's take a break to get that point.
I think what comes really out in mind is the element of delivery. But having said that, still we have to be very careful on how far we go with, yes.
We take a short break at this point. When you come back after the break, we still wrap up on this particular issue, but also talk about a year that had a pandemic, even have us rethink on how we do so many things. That's a discussion we have here. And just put into perspective how the government has dealt with the COVID-19 pandemic so far, even as we get into 2021. Short break, back with more.